let's take a look at the positives and negatives of bash shell scripting. The biggest positive for bash shell scripting is the fact that if you are connecting and working with a language that is specific toward Unix/Linux, the same way that PowerShell would be specific to Microsoft Windows. So you're telling or automating your production tasks in a way that your computer directly understands. So just by the fact that you're automating everything, that gives you the ability to basically, I'm trying to think of a word right now, it allows you to have other people do those tasks in your place, and you can move on to other things. And when you shove off your task onto other people, delegate, that's the word I was trying to think of. When you delegate those tasks to others, and it allows you to focus on other things, and also you can be assured that because it's basically running a script, maybe creating directories a certain way, and all you're doing is getting the computer to ask the potential user some certain questions, easy to follow questions, then you know it's being done in a certain way. It's kind of like if you've ever filled out your taxes, your federal and your state. If you've ever done that and you used, Intuit tax return software, all you're doing is answering questions, and these are pretty much easy to follow questions, and they do all the calculations for you. It's kind of like that. So that's a huge positive. And as it says, the commands are easy. And bash also comes with Linux and Unix, so there's no installation, and it's right there ready for you. It's similar to how PowerShell is utilized with Windows. But there is a negative side. Why not? Why would we ever not decide to use bash? And why would we ever not use, the PowerShell scripts that are readily available as well? And one of the reasons why you wouldn't want to do it is because it's not object-oriented programming. It's not OOP satisfied. So in other words, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to centralize your syntax and organize them in a way as if you were programming like Java. It's probably closer to Python. With Python, you can be very productive without having to use classes, for example. And it is very useful. It's lightweight, always available, okay? And being lightweight and always available aren't always, they don't always coincide with each other. Some languages are very, very, I'm going to say robust, and it's going to include, like, for example, when most people realize that object-oriented programming is going to be harder on your storage because of inheritance. So, but just by the very fact that you create one class, you're actually inheriting the base class, your methods and instance variables, whatever is out there, because when you create a class, you inherit every method that is available in the super class, the object class, if you will. So there are some things inherent in objects that just carry with it when you create a subclass. Things like deciding whether or not it is, for example, the equal to method, which is inherent in every class, no matter how many subclasses you create. That's going to be in the mix, no matter what. And bash isn't the only shell script out there. There is also awk, AWK. And if we have time next week, I know the semester's coming to a close very soon, but if we have time next week, we'll take a look at awk. Awk is just, the problem with awk is it's ancient. It was really big in the early 90s, and obviously Python and Ruby and other languages have taken run over the shell scripting area. Obviously, Bash, which is what we're talking about now, is still widely used, but also Python and Ruby are up there in terms of getting your Linux and Unix and Windows shell to do certain things. But I'm just saying, awk is just kind of ancient, but I mean, there's been books that have been written on awk. So awk is something that we should definitely take a look at. Now let's take a look at a simple task. Here we're doing echo hello world, and all it does is it echoes hello world. Now we can actually we're creating a program called shell test, and you notice it has the .sh extension right there. So we're doing echo hello world, and I did an ls showing that shell test.sh is in fact a program I did create, and just so you know, emphasize on the extension sh. Now if we do present working directory, I did want to note that we are in my home account. Now we can run shell test, and all it's doing is saying hello world, as you're seeing right there, but we have to preface shell test.sh with the word bash, which is the name of the shell that we are doing. Now we can say echo shell bin bash. Now the reason why I did that is to show you that there is a way to reveal to you as the user, as a programmer, what shell that you are using, and you say echo shell bin bash. Now this is what we call, okay, I was kind of interrupted there for a second momentarily, just having regular life issues. That being said, the whole point of me doing echo and then $shell was this prints to the screen, or echoes to the screen, the current shell and its path. So the path is bin bash, slash bash, and for this reason, when you write a shell script, which is what this is, even though it's one command, echo hello world, it is a shell script. When you write it, you should always preface the actual script with what they call a shebang. So this is what now when you get this PowerPoint, I encourage everyone to follow along in the PowerPoint along with the video, because you can actually take this part and you can make it bigger on your screen. And you can also look it up on Google. We have a pound sign and then an exclamation point, and the specific path to the bash shell that's in the bin folder, and specifically the bash folder, is where the scripts for this shell exist. So for this reason, this tells the compiler, or because there is a compiler at the end of the day, this tells the compiler how the script should act based on the shell. So you could leave it blank and leave it up to the default shell behavior. But the problem is that not every Linux distribution or Unix distribution is going to have the bash shell as the default. As a matter of fact, on my Unix free BSD installation, or distribution, I should say, not that Unix has distributions like Linux does, but we can say Unix and Linux are cousins. Anyways, Unix's free BSD does not even come with the bash shell by default. It doesn't ship with it. Okay, it actually just uses the sh, just the shell. That is more of a I'm going to say barbaric version of the bash shell. There's literally no color formatting. There's nothing. So you're kind of left on your own, which is okay, which is fine. Anyway, so as it is said, that this shebang here basically tells the compiler, the Linux compiler, the default behavior of the script. Now, I understand there's only one line to this script, so how undefault could you possibly be? Well, I'm talking if a script is basically, more complex, more robust, it requires the user to put in decisions And one shell might be a little bit different than another shell. The main thing is just making sure you have the shebang here that imitates where the shell is in the background. So if you do the echo shell command, the output here is the input of your shebang comment right there. Now, executing the bash shell script, it is as easy as typing bash and then the and then the name of the program. But a lot of times you don't want to do that. So what you have to do is you can generally use the colon and then front slash, and I'm going to say name of program. I'm just going to say name of file. And sorry, that looks like ham right now. Name of file. And then of course you would have to make sure that it has the .sh extension. Now, if you just do that without doing anything else, you're going to see that it does say permission denied, as it told me right then and there. So what you're going to have to do is, you notice if you type in ls-l shell test, you'll see that you recall that this represented permission blocks, if you will, and these permission blocks were divvied up into threes. So the first three are going to be for the user. The next three are going to be for the group that the user belongs to. And so this is U, and then this is the group, and this is O for other. Now, the other aspect of it is, what is this one right here? This seems to be a leftover character. And we recall from past lectures that it refers to the type of entity that this is. Is it D for directory, or is it a dash just means like a regular file? Now, S is something that's probably beyond this class. This is what we call a symbolic link, and that's for like your later Linux studies. Like if you wanted to become a Linux engineer or something, you can go through Red Hat, or heck, you can just go through the same YouTube videos that you've been using to help with this class and probably all your other classes at this school. That being said, you type in ls-l and you get the readout, the cluster of permission, and user, group, and others all have three types of permissions, R, W, and X. Read, write, and X, of course, stands for execute. Now you can see that what is sorely missing from this exercise is nobody here can execute, not even the user. Now, by default, whenever we create a file, whether it's a text file or whatnot, it's gonna, by default, Linux says you're the user. By default, you can write it, you can read it, but you can't execute it. So what you do is you have to, as I said, you try to execute a non-executable program, it'll say permission denied. That's exactly what this does. This dot and then / tells it to execute this file as if it's like a .exe program for Windows, all right? But in here, in Linux, there are no .exe programs. So what you have to do, you actually have to do change mod or change mode, U+X shell test.sh, and then you can go ahead and run it. Dot and then / shell test.sh, and then it will run. It'll say hello world. The other thing I wanted to say was I actually did vim shell test.sh there, and that's important. Usually, or many times, you see people do sudo vim shell test.sh. That means it is owned by root. But if you just do vim shell test.sh, it is in fact owned by you. So when you do run it, you don't have to do sudo. And you notice that when we wanted to change the change mode using the chmod or chmod command, and what we did here was we said user, so the user, and we're adding the +X that adds the ability to execute. Now, if we did run the ls-l again, you would see RW and then X here, okay? And I should have represented that when I was making this PowerPoint. I never did, but it is kind of cool to kind of see that, to see that, hey, whatever program you created, you can execute it too. It's also scary because if you can create an executable program that says hello world, you could probably create a program very easily that, for example, like deletes all your work files. And of course, you would only want to do that to your worst enemy. But anyways, so we say chmod u plus x. This gives shell test the ability to be executed too. By whom? The user. That's why, and so because shell test was created by me right here and without sudo, that's why we're able to do this. Anyways, we have shelltest.sh hello world. Now, here's a typical bash script, one that actually has use for us. We can say something like my location from equals my location from. My location to is my location to. So we can say copy my location from my location to, and we could say, and this basically is the same thing. So we could run this, and when we run it, we can actually create a script that asks you to, from where to where do you want to copy a file. Here's another example. First name equals Jason, and then we say first name command not found. Here's what I was doing here. So I was trying to, this is an actual script. First name equals Jason, echo hello first name, hello Jason, okay? The problem with this, the reason why it said first name command not found is because you have to note that there are spaces here, space here, and space here. Now remember, the bash shell, and keep in mind, just by the very fact that you are on the shell means that it's like almost like a scripting language. Like even when you type in ls, press enter, you're like, that's a script. So we've been writing scripts this entire time, this entire semester, but there are rules, and for some reason it does not like spaces between the equal sign. It's not like another language. It's not like Python or Java when it can take spaces. It cannot. So this is why this is the correct way. There are no spaces. So that I want you to keep that in mind as you're perusing these various examples. So we can say, here's an example. Let's see, first name Jason, last name Myers, echo, hello, first name, last name, okay? And here is this refers to, this is the greeting program right here. I should keep this arrow here. Anyways, vim greeting.sh, and then we can run the greeting sh, and it says hello Jason Myers. Okay, example 2. Well, hold on. Let me just get a drink real quick. Okay, in this next example, please turn your attention to here, echo. What is your first name? So that is what it prints out to the screen. Now it's going to read your response, and your response will be put into the variable first name. What is your last name? Same thing. It reads what you type in for last name, and then it echoes first name, last name. So this is the execution of it. We create greeting2.sh. This is what this program is. We then type it out and we execute it. We change the permission so that it can be executed, and we execute it here. And then what is your first name? We type in Hal. What is your last name? Smith. And then it reads and it spits out, hi, Mr. Hal Smith. Here we have an if-then statement. We tell it to enter a number, and we tell it to echo out, enter a number, and it reads the number we put in, and then it tells us whether or not it is even or odd. You can take a look at that more so on your own. Here's what we call positional arguments, in which we echo hello world. Echo is 0, hello world is 1 and 2. That's the basis of it. So we can then create hello world.sh. We can change the permissions to make sure it's executable, and we can actually run the syntax here. So we'll say hello 1 2, and then it says hello world, and these dollar signs mean this is the position of the information you put in. So I just put in Jason Myers, and it says hello Jason Myers. In the same fashion, if you changed it up so it's echo 2 1, we put in Jason Myers, it actually prints out the second one first and the first one second, because this is the order of the variables right here, 2, 1. Here's what we call output redirection. Now I want you to try this out yourself, and this is your instructor's weak attempt at prose. I just wrote echo, and there it stood, smoldering in the ruins of his childhood memories. Yes, there the Visser house stood tall, and that's my horrible attempt at horror. Just so you know, I kind of was thinking about that Stephen King book, Salem's Lot, when Ben Mears, comes back to his old town known as Jerusalem's Lot, shortened up to Salem's Lot, and he sees, when he comes into town, the Marston house. And so I kind of was thinking about that when I wrote this. Now, the echo, that pretty much tells it to display everything you see here up until the basically greater than sign, which tells it to, and let me just take this away for momentarily, that tells it to pipe all this into the horror.txt file. So when you at horror.txt, you can see everything in here. Now the problem is, if you said the Zodiac strikes again, Zodiac, just so you know, was a serial killer from the late 60s going into the early 70s. He would kill people like hikers and picnickers and people generally by lakes, and he would write the, like, for example, the San Francisco Chronicle and newspapers, the newspapers in California at the time, he would write them ciphers so that the newspapers printed them out and the readers could decipher them. I want everyone to go out and watch the movie Zodiac. I think it's from 2007 with Jake Gyllenhaal. It was very, very good. Anyways, now if you typed out the Zodiac strikes again and you pipe it to the horror.txt, guess what? If you cat out horror.txt, the Zodiac strikes again is all that's there. What happened to all this great prose that I wrote? Well, here's how it goes. You can do the same thing. So you pipe it out to horror.txt, and this is what it prints. Now, if you wanted to do the echo, the Zodiac strikes again, you use the double pipe right there. Now, the double pipe allows you to I guess, concatenate the first everything else, so you're not overwriting it. If the first greater than sign overwrites, then the two greater than signs allows you to append to the end of what was already originally written. Here is word count right here, and you're seeing word count horror text. There are 24 characters in it, and if you don't want to include the name of the file again, you can utilize the less than sign. What that does is it brings the horror text into here. So what you're doing is you're telling this, hey, word count the horror text. So the output is just 24, and so you don't see the horror text right here. Here's what we call command line delimiters. So if we typed in the word concatenate, and then here's the two less thans, this acts as the beginning delimiter. So you say, I am the one who cannot be caught. I'm the one who you can chase me all you want. You can't catch me, gingerbread man. And then you type in gingerbread man again. So gingerbread man is the delimiter, but the problem is it has to be on the line itself. You notice that gingerbread man here didn't work. So it comes out, I am the one who cannot be caught. You chase me all you want. You can't catch me, gingerbread man. So go ahead and try that at your leisure. All right, that's it for this week. Next week, we will finish our lecture on scripts.